I have a very special guest, my brother Murray, all the way from Johannesburg, South Africa. Welcome to the Bitcoin Age, Murray.
Thanks, Paula.
So, Murray and I obviously grew up in the same home in Bulawayo, Zimbabwe, and although we got some of the same messages about money, some of them were different. I remember people telling Murray he would be a very successful businessman, and that's exactly what he is. What do you remember about the messages you got growing up, Murray?
I mean, actually, I don't remember that much of my childhood, but I do remember everyone saying to me that I loved money and I loved to make it. So I was always running around trying to do things in order to make money, whether it was selling oranges or making hot dogs at a stand at the tennis tournaments, or anything that I made a little bit of money, I would do it as a youngster. But I wasn't really driven by money. I just knew I wanted to have it.
So you were a born entrepreneur. So that comes to where you are right now. You're joining us from your business in South Africa. Tell us a little bit about your global business.
So we basically got two businesses. One is a wholesale business that we sell to all the big retailers around the world. Walmart Africa is our biggest client. We sell to all the major retailers in South Africa like Mr. Price and JD Group and Checkers, PicknPay, etc. And we generally sell to them on an FOB basis, where we sell furniture and homeware and decor directly to them from the source. And we sell from India, Indonesia, Vietnam, China, etc. And all of our furniture, homeware, and decor is on a mass market scale. So it's meant for kind of lower to middle income people. Some of it goes to the higher end, but the retail business that we do is the very high end of the high end, which goes to all the decorators and architects and game lodges and hotels. That's the retail business that we have here in Johannesburg, but it's only out of one store, and we sell literally directly to the customer. Versus on the wholesale business, we sell to the big retail customers.
And I know your role in the business, part of your role is traveling the world, sourcing products. Tell us about some of those trips, because you have the most interesting trips.
I think for me, making the business revolve around something that I loved was a very important aspect to my life and to my happiness. And I wanted to create a business that I could travel the world and see the world and have a business that revolved around that. And so basically we got into sourcing of furniture and homeware, and then we got into lighting and smalls and rugs. We grew country to country as the needs grew with our customers, and as we grew our customer base, because we don't just supply like the DIY stores, we also supply all the interior decor stores, and then we supply the supermarkets, and so we have a wide range of customers. The retail business was a business that I've started in basically in the past year, and it was a business that I did because I loved these beautiful pieces from around the world that had these amazing stories, like these temple doors from India, or these beautiful bone inlay products from India or Indonesia. I've traveled around the islands in Indonesia and been around Java, where I've found the most beautiful like limestone troughs and stone pieces and black onyx marble basins and all these pieces that are unique and different and not in our market, and very much for like a wabi-sabi type look, where people are doing game lodges and beach lodges, etc. So the travel was basically opened up my business into many different categories, and obviously I was able then to supply different customers with different products from around the world. And as I made more customers, I then traveled to further and further places. So next on the list is Turkey, and next year is Morocco. So we're always looking for new places to go to find new products.
Well, you mentioned mixing your purpose and passion with your business, and that's one of the reasons you are so successful. Do you think that has had an effect on the success of your business?
Definitely, because if I didn't love what I do, I definitely wouldn't be putting this effort in. I mean, I basically travel 6 months out of the year, and to most people, to people who have got families or partners or kids or husbands and wives, they wouldn't be able to do that because they wouldn't be able to spend that amount of time away from their families. I've chosen a life that enables me to do that. But it's people think it's glamorous, but it's there's a lot of long, hard days and long travel and sitting on airport floors and in lounges waiting for delayed flights and, sitting on a train for 4 hours traveling through, the back end of India. I mean, it's not all glamorous, but there's a passion behind it, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
That's exactly what keeps you going. So back to the business part and how it relates to what we talk about on this channel. Do you notice that inflation affects your business in South Africa or your life?
Yeah, hugely. I mean, the two things that have affected the business recently, especially the wholesale business, because prices are very sensitive and margins are very low. Shipping costs have doubled recently again since COVID. COVID, they went up almost 10 times, and then they came down again, and now recently they've just doubled again. And things like that push up the cost of goods, which is inflation, and so goods become more and more expensive. And the problem is people have, especially in South Africa, have less and less. In America, people are much wealthier and have more money and more disposable income, but in South Africa, things are tight. So inflation here is definitely higher than America, and I would say that it's still a major problem in South Africa at the moment.
Are there any other challenges you have faced with your business?
I mean, the main challenges at the moment are the shipping costs, and I mean, the cost of goods have gone up overseas, and in China and Vietnam and India, we've seen the prices, the raw materials go up. But that's also on the back of inflation and demand, and then obviously with the cost of fuel and everything, that causes inflation to go up even higher here.
So I heard you earlier mention PicknPay. I am under the belief that PicknPay accepts Bitcoin payments. I just thought that's quite interesting that in South Africa, a major store accepts Bitcoin payments. Do you know anyone who pays in Bitcoin?
Yeah, I do, and I think more and more people are using it, and in South Africa, it's becoming more and more widely used and accepted. And look, I do think there's going to be kind of some regulation more, and it's slightly regulated in South Africa. You have to put it on your tax returns, so it's definitely been regulated more in South Africa, but it's definitely been widely adopted here as well.
And when did you first hear about Bitcoin and buy it yourself?
Unfortunately, not soon enough. I wish I had heard about it a lot longer. But I probably bought my first Bitcoin maybe 7 years ago. Yeah, about 7 years. Yeah.
Has your idea about Bitcoin changed since then?
No, I didn't know much about Bitcoin back then. It was more of a punt, but as I've learned more and more about it, I've realized that it's here to stay. And for me, whenever I have money spare to buy, I keep buying, and I'll continue to buy. And if ever I sold business, I would buy a whole chunk of Bitcoins, because I do believe that it's going to become much bigger monetary value and use in the world, especially in South Africa.
And is there any chance that your business would buy Bitcoin as a store of value?
So at the moment, all the excess money that is generated in the business, we use to grow the business and to grow this new retail business. So we've put more and more money into stock. But if we got to the point where I had excess money that we didn't need to use to buy stock and to grow the business, then definitely, I'll definitely would buy Bitcoin.
Wonderful. So, Murray, I know you have a very strong morning routine. Tell us a little bit about your morning routine and how you think that adds to your success.
I think people think that I'm a bit crazy, but I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I follow the Wim Hof method, so I do my breathing exercises, which take about half an hour, and then I get into my ice bath, which is at 4 degrees Celsius. I'm not sure what that is in Fahrenheit, but I get into my ice bath every day. And then while I warm up and have my coffee, I watch like a positive podcast, and it could be something about Bitcoin that you sent me, or it will be one of some, an inspirational leader, or something to do with business or sales. Some of the American guys that I follow, I don't necessarily like their style, but a lot of them talk sense, like Alex Hormozy and those guys. But yeah, I mean, after that, and after I've warmed up, I get in my car and I go to gym for an hour, and then I get to work at 6:30. So my morning routine generally lasts me 3 hours, in 3 hours every day in the morning. But I love it, and I wouldn't have it any other way. But it's good for me. It sets my head right, and it gets me clean and clear for business every day.
So it sounds like you're covering all the boxes. You've got the personal development, the physical fitness, the business, and the money side going. What does freedom mean to you?
At the moment, I've got a plan in place that I want to build the business up to a level that could potentially the wholesale business be sold off and continue the retail business. But at this stage, we'll see how the next few years go. For me, I would say that it's got to be not having money stress or cash flow stress is a big thing. And while you're growing a business like I have, you always go through that. And now with this new retail business and putting a lot of money into the stock, it has put pressure on me and the business again. And I guess we'll get to the point at some stage where if I did sell the wholesale business and continue with the retail business, I would be able to invest, a bunch of money, whether it was a whole bunch would be in Bitcoin, or some might be in S&P 500 or something, that you would have just financial security, that you don't have to worry about paying the bills or worrying about any cash flow issues, because that's if you can't control stock or cash flow in a business, you don't have a business. But at the end of the day, for me, I wouldn't want to stop working. I would always want to do something, but I would love to have more of a backup in savings, whether it was Bitcoin or the S&P 500, that I didn't have that stress in my life.
As you probably know, Bitcoin has beaten the S&P 500 by a long way over the last 15 years. And you mentioned, one of the principles of Bitcoin is delayed gratification. So we invest now because Bitcoin is only 21 million and they'll never print more. That way, it's only ever going to grow. So that's one of the reasons. And that's kind of what you're doing in your business. You're investing your time in your business now for in the future to have the freedom to do what you want to do. And because it's your purpose and passion, you're enjoying the journey.
Yeah, and if I didn't have this, if I hadn't invested all this money into this new business and this retail business, I would actually have more in Bitcoin for sure. But the reality is I've needed the money to grow this business. But as the business becomes more successful and more profitable, then I'll have more money to put into Bitcoin, and I definitely will down the line. It's definitely a plan of mine, and it would be for long-term investment as well. I wouldn't be a Bitcoin trader. but I'd be a Bitcoin investor.
Wonderful. So just to end with, are there any books that have really influenced you or anything good you're reading at the moment?
So I would say one of the best books I've read recently is The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. I think that is a brilliant book. I enjoyed the book called Money by Tony Robbins. Then also some of my other favorite older books are Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I thought that was a fantastic book. And then I'm reading a book at the moment called Be Obsessed or Be Average by Grant Cardone. And whilst I don't particularly love his style, he talks a lot of sense as far as business and sales and that go.
And you know his brother Gary is a big
Yes, I hear so. So didn't he sell his house to put into Bitcoin?
Yes.
Yeah. I hope it
Well,
works for him.
I think it will.
Yeah.
So wonderful, Murray. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I know you have the Bitcoin Standard because I gave it to you.
Yes,
So once
I do.
you've read that, we'll do another interview in a year.
Okay, perfect. Okay,
Thanks,
Paula.
Murray.
Thank you.